I'm very happy to now be turning the word over to you, Reverend Lien. I ask you the same question. What can and should Zen practice offer in these times of urgency and polycrisis? Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I like to think of the Zen as the base of my aspiration, because Zen is so implicit about compassion. You know, the Bodhisattva vow is about as compassionate as you can get. And so there's this, I like to think of us as like the cheerleaders. We're like, ooh, Buddha nature, we all have it. So leap from there, act from there. And the difficulties that I meet is, how do we have some sense of I'll just say it, the effectiveness of our compassion? Because while that movement is hopefully from a ground of subtleness and, something we already have, being able to actually say, this is the suffering, this is what's around us, we need to meet, we need to talk about. And then I think the explicit part, that in terms of our everyday practice with Zen, so much of our focus is on how do we attend to objects, how do we hold things with two hands, how do we pick up a chair, the famous, in Suzuki Roshi, because the zendo's right underneath the dining hall. How do we pick up the chair when we push it back under the table so that it doesn't scrape on the floor and impact people's meditations, zazen, and downstairs? So I think all that is lovely. And yet I think we need to focus these days more on the subjects, moving from objects to subjects. We need to make this part of our fearlessness is, how do we actually bring in more subjects? To me, part of, I really appreciate hearing Nicole Roshi, Tatsudo Roshi, talk yesterday, I guess, or maybe the day before, about how perhaps a fourth turning is about systems. And so part of me, one of the systems, of course, that I have struggled with so much is about racism. And certainly there's sexism, homophobia, lots of isms going on. For me, part of how we extend our practice is we actually, it's not about how do I, certainly as a personal practice, it is about how do I become more conscious about other beings suffering. Certainly. However, it isn't enough that I go look for objects or even to go look for subjects to inform me. What I have to do is I have to make the container that subjects will want to come in, so that people feel included, so that more subjects are informing me how compassion will work for them. So I think the fearlessness is to actually be more in the relative world, to take that aspiration of the absolute and really embodied in an interactive way, in a structural way. And how do I put my body into that? How do I make the container for other bodies to also feel included, that their suffering is as equally as important as mine? Now, I don't do this well. Again, I've been holding compassion a lot, and I think one of the things that we need to practice is to avow. This is before we take the precept. The first thing we do is we avow our ancient twisted karma. The way we respond is also conditioned. Who we think or needs our response is also conditioned. And so I'll confess that last night, I was going into a room to get something, and it was dark and the light is shining in, and things was scurrying across. And I confess that my first thing was to go, psh. And then I was like, I am sorry. I am sorry. Right? I'm a huge thing. This is a little thing. And yet I sense a little fear, and I sense a little bit of this thing should be in my space. Also that my comfort is more important than this thing. This being, sorry, not a thing. See, this is the condition of the mind. This is, as an object. To say that it's a thing is to make it an object. As a subject, I can talk about valuing its life, and I do. And yet, in the insight tradition, in the four Brahma Vihara practice, there are very specific lines that go with the practice of Karuna, or compassion, which is both the wish to alleviate and end suffering, and Karuna is also about that the life and the energy and the happiness of all beings are as important as mine. That's also part of Karuna. And the lines in there are about safety and protection. May I have safety and protection. May I have mercy and tenderness for my suffering and others' suffering. Let there be patience. Let us all practice forgiveness. And then also that the causes of suffering can end. Right? Thank you for listening.